I'm Rabbi Young Grace. Shalom to all of you, and stay tuned for Tape with Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug.
Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. Glad you could be with us today. Once again, back with us, our very own Chef Sharon Matten. Welcome back to the show.
Nice to be here.
We are here now preparing for Rosh Hashana, the Jewish New Year, and Chef Sharon has really just gone all out. Not only is she going to be making some wonderful Rosh Hashana creations today, but she has prepared her counter with Rosh Hashana goodies and traditional foods that we eat for the holiday. Sharon, when you think of Rosh Hashana, what comes to your mind?
Apples and honey.
Apples and honey.
Apples
That's
and
what
honey.
everyone thinks about because we want to wish everyone a sweet new year.
Absolutely.
So when you think about apples and honey and you say, I want to make a dessert or I want to make something special to go with the meal, do you think of cooking apples or baking with apples and honey and using them in your creations?
Absolutely. Some of the traditional things that people use on Rosh Hashanah is they make honey cake, of course, because you want to have a happy and sweet New Year. And then apples because we have the habit and tradition, thank you, of doing apples dipped in honey. So we are going to be doing that.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that you have brought to the Rosh Hashanah table. And I think these things are important to see and know about. We can start right here with round challahs.
That's right.
Now you bake these challahs yourself,
Right.
with the dough, with
Absolutely.
the hand rolling of the challahs into a round circle, which is different from the size of a loaf of challah that we would use during the regular year. And the idea of using a round challah during the Rosh Hashanah time is the idea of the circle of the year, that the year goes in circles and circles, the beginning of the year to the end of the year, back to the beginning of the year, that the whole idea of that is represented within the round challah.
And to add to that, the challahs that I make for Rosh Hashanah have golden raisins in them. Not dark ones, because dark ones, you want to have the light and the beautiful, most beautiful things that you can for Rosh Hashanah. And we add sweet golden raisins to the challahs. And they're just sweet and yummy.
Very good. Next, I see these must be...
Figs.
Oh, these are the figs.
Those are figs.
These are figs. These are fresh figs.
Fresh.
Now, a lot of people buy
figs.
figs dried up into cakes of figs.
Right.
And when you buy these fresh figs, they can sometimes be green and sometimes be purple.
Right.
I've seen them both
We
ways.
have both of them here.
And we have both of them here. Look at that. You have the green and the purple. And that's what threw me off. Now, dates also come fresh like this, right?
Yes, I just don't have them here. We have a small selection of some of the things that you would eat on Rosh Hashanah. It's also a custom to eat new things that you haven't eaten throughout the year on Rosh Hashanah and to make a shachli and a bracha on them. Additionally, some of these foods here, there's a little pamphlet which I have here, which talks about the different special blessings that you would make on these foods. So, for example, figs, you would make a special blessing on those. Squash is another one that you make a special blessing. Carrots are very common to make a special blessing. One of the reasons for that is, do you know why? Because of marin.
Mm-hmm.
The Yiddish word for carrots is marin, which means more, and you want to have more on Rosh Hashanah.
More blessings.
More blessings. And then on this tray also I have a prickly pear, which is what we usually, that and a pomegranate. Unfortunately, it's called Tape with Rabbi Doug, and we're taping this show, so it's
And pomegranates are out of season
They're
for
out of
another
season.
3 or 4 weeks.
But we have some pomegranate juice,
juice.
just so that we don't forget the pomegranate.
And we have beets.
We have the
Of course,
beets.
as you made on another show, we have
Honey
beets
Right.
to represent the beets that are traditionally eaten at Rosh Hashanah time. And each one of these talks about an abundance of blessings. We say a little Yehi Ratzon, a little prayer that each should give us more blessing. Now I see over here we have some beautiful things. Why don't you tell us about these? And they are absolutely gorgeous because I see they have little bees on them.
Well, on Rosh Hashana, because of honey, a lot of times we'll use a bee theme or a bee motif. We try and use our most beautiful things that we can on Rosh Hashana to make sure that we have a beautiful year, and we try and find special things to coordinate with that theme as well. So we have little beehive cakes. So there are little bees on them. They're just little cupcakes with little beehives on them. And we have little stacked, they're called triple stack cookies, and they have like a little chocolate bee transfer on them, so they're little bees on the chocolate. And then we put an actual frosting bee on the top of that also. And the other ones, you know, they're just to add some color and beauty to the tray. Additionally, we use a special silver challah board on Rosh Hashana, and then during the year, we try and find little things that add to the theme of the holiday. So we have a little beehive honey holder, and an apple and honey silver honey holder, and even the tray that we're using for our shafiano and vegetables is a flower with little bees on it. So we love doing that. And then another thing that we're going to do is we're going to pick special honeys that we can. So for example, we went blueberry picking this year, and we set aside the blueberry honey that we purchased just because to make it special for the holiday. So it's really nice, and we have family come, and it's a wonderful, happy time for everyone.
Wonderful. So tell us, what are we going to be making? I see you have some dough laid out. I see you put some flour on there so it wouldn't stick to your board.
Absolutely.
And what are we going to be making now with this dough for today's special dessert for Rosh Hashana?
Let's move these over. This is an apple honey tart. Now, we have beautiful Fuji apples, which I have here. You can use Golden Delicious. I like the red ones because you'll see when we use it that the peel adds a beautiful color to the tart. So you want to pick apples that are similar in size, and you can either peel them or not. I like to leave them unpeeled because it adds some color to the tart. I also wash these in vegetable wash to make sure that I don't have any additional waxy residue on these apples. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is, I have a sheet of puff pastry dough here, and I'm going to move this over as well. These apples, these are the apples that you could use to dip your apples in honey.
It's
Beautiful.
about 8 by 14 or so.
Beautiful apples. Yes, so this is about 8 by 14. You can go to your local grocery store, and they come in folded sheets usually. You want to make sure that you defrost it, and once it's defrosted, then you can start rolling it out. So I have my rolling pin right here. Now, I love using a board like this because it makes cleanup very easy, and it makes everything roll very smoothly. You can get also a silicone mat. I've also been known to roll off things directly on my granite, but you have to make sure that your granite is obviously extremely clean before you do that, and then you have to clean off the granite when you're done. But I love this. I've had this since I was married, and it's just a really wonderful thing. My grandmother had a board like this, so we're very into tradition in my family, and I love using it. So I'm going to show you how we're going to roll this out, and then we're going to show you how we make the tart. So I'm going to roll this until it's slightly thinner. I'm not going to roll it too much. Now, a piece this size, if I roll it thinly, a piece this size can theoretically even make 2 tarts, because this is a different kind of pastry dough. So I'm just going to roll this until it's very thin. Now you don't want to roll it so that it's so thin so that you cut it or have holes in it. But you want to roll it out so it's a little bit thinner than you started. That's pretty good. Now, the way we're going to make this tart is we're going to do something which is kind of clever. I have over here the ring of a tart shell. So when you make like a pastry tart and you have a removable bottom, that's what this is from. So instead of using, it's like a big cookie cutter. So instead of actually using another knife or trying to imagine a circle, I'm just going to use this as actually my cutter. Now you can use a cake pan, or you can just put a cake circle or some kind of circle down and just measure it around and cut it with a paring knife.
Now, did you learn this from another chef, or is this the Chef Sharon creation?
This is a Chef Sharon creation.
All right, it looks like a brilliant idea.
All right, so we're going to take this and we're just going to press it down on the dough, and we're going to kind of move it a little bit just to get all the way down. Okay, and we're going to lift the dough around it. Okay, I'm going to grab one of my pans, and I'm going to grab a sheet of parchment paper. I'm going to put the parchment paper on the pan. I'm going to lift this off, put it to the side. Okay. You see we have a beautiful circle here. I'm going to very carefully lift it off of the board. Make sure you put enough flour on your board so you're able to lift the dough. I'm going to gently smooth it onto the board, and still has this very pretty ripple on the board. Now, you may be wondering, okay, so now I have all this extra pastry dough. What do I do with it? Well, I'll show you in a minute. We're going to put this in the fridge for 10 minutes, or between 10 and 30 minutes. And then we're going to continue on with the rest of the recipe.
Hi, I'm Rabbi Benson. You're watching Tape with Rabbi Doug.
Welcome back. We're here with Chef Sharon Matten, and we have taken the pastry dough out of the refrigerator. And what are we going to do with it now? Now, this was cut with the mold. It's a perfect circle. And we are going to now take a look at what the next step in making this beautiful pastry is going to be.
Well, what we're going to do before we do that is we're going to use up this extra pastry dough. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it into random strips like this, so that I have just random pieces of dough.
So it's not going to go to waste.
It's not going to go to waste. We don't waste any food here. We're going to make a yummy, delicious snack. That people, when they're hungry, waiting for the Rosh Hashana meal, you can even just pull it apart with your hands if you want. But I'm just going to use a knife. But you can. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be fancy. I'm just cutting gentle pieces. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on another cookie sheet, just like this, with a piece of parchment. And I'm just going to lay them out. It doesn't have to be any particular order. If you can separate them, that's a little better. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray them with a little bit of nonstick spray, like this. And I have a little bit of cinnamon sugar here. So it's just some sugar mixed with some cinnamon. And I'm going to sprinkle it over the pieces of pastry dough.
Kind of kichel-like.
Right. And now I've preheated my oven for the apple tart to 400 degrees. And when I put the apple tart in, which I'm going to do in a few minutes, we're going to put this in with it, and you'll end up with little pieces of pastry that look like this.
Wow.
Which are so good to snack on.
Wow, okay, here we go.
Amazing.
Oh, that's delicious. It is like kichel.
It is. It's like a little puff pastry snack. Okay, so we're going to put these to the side.
Delicious.
And we're going to move our board just over here behind us. And we'll get to those later. Now we're going to get back to our apples. What we're going to do is I have a bowl, which I'm going to put the apple slices in. We're going to slice and core an apple. I have something called a mandolin. Now what a mandolin is, it allows you to do even thin slices of any fruit or vegetable that you choose to slice it with. This is not an expensive one. You can get very, very expensive ones, which are several $100s, or you can get some that are $10. So it's your choice. This is obviously not a really expensive one, and for our purposes, it works really well. Additionally, if you don't have a mandolin, all you need is a very sharp knife, and that works just fine. So now I'm going to core the apples. And don't worry if you don't get all the core out. We're going to take that out and have it in a few minutes.
Oh, that's how you core the apples, huh?
Yes, this is an apple core.
I've never used one of those.
All right, so now we have 2 apples, which you can see through. Now I'm just cutting directly on the counter because it's a granite counter, it's not a problem. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them into quarters. So you have 8 pieces of apple. Okay, and there's still some pieces of apple core, so I'm just going to cut those out. Put them to the side. Okay, you don't want to have seeds in your apple tart, that wouldn't be very nice. And I'm just using a kind of a long knife. You can use a paring knife, also works just fine too. And I'm just very carefully cutting out extra seeds. Oh, there's still a little bit left in this one, so we're going to take it out. There we go. Now, using the mandolin. Now, some mandolins have something that you can use to push the vegetables or fruit across. I'm not going to use it. I'm pretty good at using it. So don't try this at home this week. If you need to, use the pusher so you don't cut your fingers. And we're just going to cut thin slices of the apple using the mandolin. And when I finish this section, we don't need to cut all of them. We can leave pieces like this.
We don't want to figure it.
Right. And the slices are going to look like this. So they're kind of thin, but you can still see the peel on them. And we'll go through, and we're just going to quickly slice the rest of the apples. And what's nice about this mandolin is that it has little ridges, which have a grab onto the bowl. So it's really not moving when I'm doing this. And again, what's nice about it is it allows you to have exactly evenly sliced apple pieces. Okay, almost done. And it's very quick too.
Yes, let's
I've sliced cucumbers on this to make a very quick cucumber salad. Mushrooms, when I need to slice a lot of mushrooms. Okay, and then you have a little snack on the side. Okay, and now we're done slicing our apples. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our tart crust and we're going to lay the apple slices in concentric circles so that the peel is showing. Just a few small millimeters from the edge of the tart. And we're doing it so that it looks kind of like a fan. And you want to try and get similar sized apple slices next to each other for a really pretty effect. Okay. And then you're going to do this in 3 separate rows. So now that the apples are sliced so beautifully, it doesn't take very long to do this step of the tart. And we're going to just kind of tuck that one under there. And get one more to make sure it's, so there's 1 row. Okay, now we're going to do the second row. Now we can do it the same direction, or what's really cool is you can actually do it facing the opposite direction. We're going to do this one in the same direction. It's also very pretty if you do them in opposite directions as well. Now you can see why we chose to not peel the apples, because it gives it a really beautiful flower effect when the apples are not peeled. You can see the red and it just looks so pretty and so festive. And we're almost done with our second row. Okay, and it's very quick. This looks very, very complicated, but when you're done, it looks so professional, and you would never believe that it didn't take you so much time at all. Make sure we get some really beautiful slices in here. Okay? And now we finished our second row.
The red makes a difference, definitely.
It's so pretty. It's just so pretty.
Now you could do it with red and green and alternate if you wanted to too. And
You
two different
could.
colors.
You absolutely could. You could be creative. You know, anytime you find a recipe and you want to try it, you can always try it. The first time, I always recommend trying it according to the recipe. And then, as you have mastered the technique of doing the recipe, then you can start experimenting with different types of apples, or
I guess you could do it with pears too.
you theoretically could do it with pears or peaches. I've actually done this with peaches, I believe.
Really?
Yes, and it's a very
Different type of fruit, so that's interesting.
Or plums, as another tart that I make with plums, also very beautiful. All right, so now we've got 3 concentric circles, and we have a hole in the middle. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my paring knife, and I'm just going to take one of those pieces of apple that we had before, and I'm just going to cut a circle. It doesn't have to be exact, just a rough circle like that, and I'm going to stick it in the middle. Okay?
It is pretty.
Now what we're going to do,
Something has to go on top of it to make it flavorful besides the flavor of just plain apple.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to gently sprinkle sugar on top of the tart. It's really about 2 tablespoons worth of sugar.
Now, if someone is a diabetic, they can actually use a sugar substitute and do this also. Isn't that true?
I'm not sure
it wouldn't
that
be the
would
same.
work. It wouldn't. What's nice about this is that you'll see that the sugar kind of caramelizes on top of the tart. So this, in some cases, I do have used sugar substitutes for some things, but I'm not sure that this is the best place to do it. Now, you can also drizzle melted margarine or butter, if you're making a dairy meal, on top of this. To make it slightly lighter, although you've added all the sugar in your puff pastry, I'm not sure that it matters in the end, but I generally will spray it with a non-stick spray. Because then I get an even coating of...
This is a buttery flavor, non-stick.
This happens to be a buttery flavor. It does not have to be. Okay? And now, it's all ready. Look how pretty that is. We're going to put it in the oven, and we're ready to go.
One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. We sold 90 million records, and it wasn't enough. For that not to be enough was because of addiction. Drugs just took over my life. The call, the power of addiction, it overrode everything. And little by little, a piece of me is stolen, and another piece of me is stolen, and all of a sudden, nothing affects me. Nothing touches me anymore. So I leave the world, and I go and become a homeless person, strung out junkie in an abandoned building, because I can't stand the pain in your eyes. If you care for me, I can't stand to see what you see in me. That journey isn't as far as you might think. The journey that is really far is the one coming back. But even at 50, you can get clean and change your whole life. There is life after drugs. There is life after success.
We're here with Chef Sharon Matten on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This little light of mine, let it shine, let it shine.
In these turbulent times, let us not erode our liberties, for they make America a beacon of hope for all to see.
Let it shine.
Welcome back. We're here on Taped with Rabbi Doug, and I'm here with Chef Sharon Matten, and our apple tart is out of the oven, and it is beautiful.
Now this
I love how it kind of shriveled up a little bit as it went. It's cute.
Now what we're going to do is, as soon as it comes out of the oven, we're going to drizzle honey on it. That's why it's called an apple honey tart. So not only do you have the sweetness of the apples, and of course the sugar, and the puff pastry is crisp, so it's a very light tart, but we're going to take the honey and we're just going to drizzle it over the top of the tart like this. Just a very light drizzle. You don't want to saturate it. And then, that's it. And we're going to put this on a serving tray, and then we're going to give you a taste.
All right. All right.
So.
All right. So stay with us, and we'll do that.
Hi, I'm Governor Rod Blagojevich, and you're watching Taped with Rabbi Doug. Mensch.
All right, we're back. I'm ready. Are you ready?
It's good.
I'm
I have
find
to
out
say,
for sure.
it's good.
I will tell all of you how good it is.
It's smell-o-vision and taste-o-vision. All right, so we're going to cut it. Now remember, it's very thin. You want a very sharp knife to cut this. It's okay, the apples will move a bit. Just be careful, you'll find people will come and start to steal little pieces of apple off the top of the tart.
All right.
Now it's really nice after a very heavy Rosh Hashana meal to have just this very thin and light dessert.
I've already made my bracha. Here we go. Oh, that is really good.
It's surprising. Such a thin and light dessert has so much flavor.
It is so good, and you know, it's like you almost can't tell there's a crust on it.
It's just really light, and it's just really nice.
I'm using my fingers. Wow, that is great.
Great.
All right, Chef Sharon.
Well, we're not done yet.
No,
I'm
we're
going to
not.
put this over here. And what is more important in Rosh Hashana than round challahs?
And you're going to show us quickly how you make a quick challah.
I am going to show you.
You have rolled this dough already.
You bet. I have 2 pounds of dough that I made in my bread machine. Why work more than you have to? And then I'm going to also do something that's known as taking challah, which is a special piece that you take off.
And you're going to burn that afterwards.
I will. And I'm not making a blessing on it because I do not have enough dough to make the blessing. Now all I'm doing right now is I've got my special board, which I'm going to end up extending beyond because my dough is going to be way too big. And I'm just taking it, this is going to be 2 large 1-pound loaves. And all I'm doing is rolling the dough out so it looks like a big snake. Just like this. And I'm stretching it a little bit, and I'm rolling it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one end, I'm going to hold the center, you can see it right here, and I'm just going to very lightly and loosely wrap the dough around and just tuck it under just like this. And what we're going to do then is you put it on a cookie sheet with some parchment paper. I love parchment paper because nothing sticks to it. And you let it rise for half an hour to 45 minutes. And when you're done, you egg it with an egg wash, put it in the oven for these about 20 minutes, and you end up with beautiful challahs that look like this.
This is unbelievable. And look at that finished product.
See?
From that to that. Well, I can't thank you enough for doing all this in one show.
So what?
This has been unbelievable. Chef Sharon Matten, Rosh Hashana. We want to wish everyone a Shana Tova. Umetuka. A very happy, sweet New Year. Thank you again, Chef Sharon Matten, for our apple tart, for our challah today, for our beets, our honey beets. What a great treat. And thank all of you for being with us. Remember, check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, where you can watch our show on the web, and you can find the recipes for all of Chef Sharon's creations. And if you have any questions, email us, info@tvrabbi.com. Sharon or I will get back to you if it's something about this show. And remember, we're on every week at this time. So I hope to see you next time right here on Tape with Rabbi Doug. Thank you, Chef Sharon, and thank all of you. Bye-bye, everybody. Shalom.